Hey, I think we have a group of citizens here on one particular topic, so we'll start with Josh Warren. And after that, it's Kelly Prevost. I think so, and then Jameson. Oops. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Josh Warren, and I live at 2095 Dunnigan. And the purpose of my presentation today is to enact speed bumps on Dunnigan Street between Roland and Arneal Street. And so Dunnigan has become a very popular route for not only neighbors, but for parents dropping off and picking up their kids from school, and others that are crossing through from Arneal to speed on our street. And with Arneal and Dunnigan becoming a traffic signal, we fear that speeding and the amount of cars will only increase. So our course of action thus far has been contacting the Camarillo Police to get patrol cars present. And for the most part, this serves as a temporary solution. Once the patrol cars are no longer present, the speeding continues. They've also helped us put out very large slow down signs. And those, again, that's a temporary solution. So we've also spoken with Bill Golubix and Jason Simonte. And through that, we conducted a speed survey, which I have here. And we found that 2,060 cars will travel along Dunnigan on an average weekday. And that's not taking into account the cars that cross over from Mobile and Roland. So Mobile is a very popular street, so a lot of cars will come in there and feed off of Dunnigan. So because of where the speed study was taken, it into those extra cars. So we believe that based on adding those extra cars in, there's probably around 2,560 cars that drive along Dunnigan Street. And of those cars, 86% of them are speeding. And so that's around 2,200 cars that are speeding along our street. And I'm sure my neighbors will attest to the fact that cars going 45 and over is not uncommon. And so 86% are speeding, and that's when they conducted a speed study with a massive sign that said slow down. I've also filled out a petition with all of my neighbor signatures. There's 28 homes that line Dunnigan Street, and 23 households signed the petition. One household was against speed bumps, but was for some type of traffic calming measure. One household was undecided, and 4 didn't answer the door. So that's 92% of our neighborhood that would like some type of change. Thank you for your time.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Next, it's Kelly Prevost, and then after that, Jameson Lingl.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kelly Prevost, and I'm here to be a witness towards everything that Josh had mentioned. I've lived at 2128 Dunnigan for a little over a year now. I have 2 little boys, and I understand that there might not be a lot of proof, like with accidents or something, for that street, but I'd really appreciate it if we did something about it, because I'd really not like my children's lives to be one of those accidents. So, I mean, if you do have any questions or anything, I would love to, you know, I like I said, I've lived there for a year, and the speed limit, I don't know anybody who drives down that street that doesn't actually live in those houses that actually drives the legal speed limit. And it is like over twice the legal speed limit. So thank you.
Thank you for coming. Jameson. And then it would be Frank Foman.
Mayor, council members, staff, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak today. And I want to come and support what my neighbors are doing and saying. I bought my house on Dunnigan about 2.5 years ago, and I've almost seen 2 accidents. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter and a kid coming in about 2 weeks. But so the thing about Dunnigan that makes it interesting is not only do people use it as kind of a through street, and they often speed on there, but because there's a school on Dunnigan, even during the summer, there are kids that are using it as to get to the track park across Arneal all the time. There are kids that are walking home from school. So if you're on Dunnigan, and there are certain times of the day, if you look out your window, there are kids, tons of kids walking by. And so it's the combination of having so many kids using our street to walk, mixed with so many cars, it seems like to me, that are really just going very fast. And it makes me nervous, and it makes me want to not go out, keep my kids in front of the house. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And Frank Fallman? Fallman.
Good evening, and thank you for listening. My name's Frank Fallman. I live at 2264 Dunnigan Street. I've been there for almost 18 years. I live about 2 houses away from Palmer, right by Arneal and Dunnigan. I've heard quite a few accidents in the middle of the night out at Arneal and Dunnigan. And this speeding issue has been a real problem on Dunnigan for a long time. I feel bad that I haven't done this, and thank you for the youth in the room for stepping forward to do this. Most recently, the things that I've seen are with an officer sitting right at Dunnigan, facing Arneal to bust the people going through the light or making the rolling stops and so forth. He was sitting there today when my wife and I came out of our house to go walking, and we headed toward Mobile. 2 cars came by. They were pushing it 40, 50 easily, straddling the double yellow line going down the middle of the street. Radios blaring and so forth, and the officer couldn't see him. Dunnigan makes a gentle bend down there. His back was to him. I turned around and walked down there, and of course he didn't see him, but he was nice enough after I talked to him to turn around and face the other way. So I kind of got that into him, but then he's very visible to the people speeding, which certainly isn't a bad thing. But in any event, yes, it is a problem. My personal property happens to be where the little bend is. When my wife and I try to back out into traffic, the speeders don't like it, and they tend to just go right around us without hitting their brakes. We're in the opposite lane. I've had situations where I've parked by the curb, start to pull out. Somebody comes on down, and I haven't accelerated fast enough for their approval, and so they go right around and cross the double yellow line. And my fear also is that while we are looking at perhaps a new light at Dunnigan and Arneal, that people will be going faster to try to make the light. So I just kind of predict that we're going downhill right now. So thank you for your time.
Great, thank you very much. I would like to ask, we have in the city a Street and Transportation Committee, which has 2 council members, our staff, a member of the police department serve on it. So if council doesn't mind, we'll refer this to your Streets and Transportation Committee.
That's exactly what I was going to make a motion for.
And I don't think we need a motion, that's just a direction. So you've given your petition to the city clerk? Now, if you'll do that, and if you want to, if your name and numbers on it, then she can contact you when that meeting will take place. And
Is there something? If I could just add some clarification to the process, the city has had a long-standing policy to consider when speed humps are warranted. We currently have 3 streets citywide that met the warrants for speed humps: Mobile, which is nearby, Berry, and Lantana. So we do have and I'd like to give Mr. Warren a copy of the policy, which outlines the steps. And the initial step is a petition of approval by at least, I believe it's 80% of the homes fronting the stretch that speed humps are requested. So that's very specific steps to be taken. The first one being this petition, which it sounds like they've got a good start on that. That would be submitted. And then our traffic division would take a further look into, and as he indicated, we did do some informal speed and traffic count studies, which we will take a closer look at that to make sure we're addressing all volumes of traffic on the street. That information will be consolidated, and if the basic requirements, meaning that a petition of approval to move forward, the warrants are met, then it would be scheduled for a Streets and Transportation Committee meeting. All the time being in communication, possibly with Mr. Warren, if he's going to take the lead on this effort. We'll continue to communicate with him on that process. I will mention that it goes to Streets and Transportation Committee meeting, and then if there's a recommendation to continue further, it does come to the City Council under a public hearing. The public hearing is duly noticed as required, including notices out on the street, going through a full process that's been established and followed throughout the city. So we will continue that process.
What I'd like to ask is, and I know you're going to go through the process and the speed bumps, that's what they've requested. If by chance it doesn't meet that criteria, so you're not going down that road, you still meet with them and see if you can figure out how to solve the problem. And I think it's important to look at multi-solutions if
Right.
indeed the other doesn't work.
Of course.
Your Honor, one more thing to make sure when your staff's looking at, consider, because I agree with them, a lot of people will try to beat that light when it comes, oh, it's going to be yellow up, I'll beat it. Make sure you take that in consideration too, not just the way it is now. It's a whole new thing now.
Okay, thank you all for coming, and we'll be in contact. I don't know if you've met our Public Works Director, but you'll get to know him. Thank you.